The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's a regular Town of Queensbury Town Board meeting. It's October 21st, 2019, and the time is 7:03 p.m. Would you all please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. The first item on our agenda tonight entails going into the Queensbury Board of Health. We have 3 items that we propose to deal with if we join in the Board of Health. So, is there a motion to move into the Queensbury Board of Health? Moved by Councilperson Medevere, seconded by Councilperson Perrone. All those in favor of moving into the Queensbury Board of Health signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. We're now in the Queensbury Board of Health. And then our first item, Rose, please.
This is the public hearing on a sewage disposal variance application of Frank and Aaron Steinbeck.
All right. This is setting a public hearing, and we have the agent to the applicant for Adam Leonardo here.
Steinbeck.
Wrong one, sir.
Oh, wrong one?
This is the public hearing for the one.
Oh, okay. Well, we got too many papers. All right. This is a resolution approving Frank and Aaron Steinbeck's application for sanitary sewer disposal variances, and I'm sure I have that. And yes, I do. It's down in the pile. Okay. So this is a residence located at 211 Assembly Point Road. It's a 4-bedroom place. The agent is Dennis McElroy of Environmental Design Partnership, and they were asking us to consider 3 variances. The first variance would be the absorption field to be 70 foot from the well instead of the required 100-foot setback. The second variance would be absorption field to be 3 foot from the west property line instead of the required 10-foot setback. And the third variance would be an absorption field 3 feet from the south property line instead of the 10-foot required setback. So I would allow the agent of the applicant, the applicants being Frank and Aaron Steinbeck, to speak to the details of what kind of system are we talking about here.
Great, thank you, John. First, I'm Dennis McElroy with Environmental Design, representing Frank and Aaron Steinbeck on this application for the variance. They apologize that they aren't able to be here. They had a long-standing commitment out of town, so they weren't able to be here. This property is in the Shore Colony area of Assembly Point. It fronts on the east shore, the Harris Bay side. It's one of those properties that has the road, Assembly Point Road, that runs between the house and the lake. When I first looked at the property, when they asked about a replacement system, and to even take a further step, this is one of these properties that falls under the new local law, which requires the system certification upon transfer. The Steinbecks are new owners purchasing. They closed on the property in August, but they received an exemption because they were going to proceed with a new design. We have, the prior owner was a second generation owner who didn't really know much about the existing system. So therefore the Steinbecks didn't know too much about the existing system. We did find some information of its existence and when it was built in 1972. But they certainly wanted to proceed with a new system. So when I first saw the property, I thought, boy, this will be easy, because there was a nice big level backyard that could readily support a new absorption field, until we looked across between the trees to the property to the north and saw a well, a drilled well that was just about mid-lot and 10 feet or so in from the property line. So there wasn't a location anywhere on the Steinbecks' roughly 60-foot wide, 170-foot deep lot that could be 100 feet, which is the standard separation from a absorption field to a well. There wasn't anywhere on the lot that could have a absorption field that could meet that standard. So we were into the variance situation. So in an effort to try to get the furthest separation distance, we've tucked the absorption field back into what is the southwest corner of the property. That gets us 70 feet of separation. But it also creates a situation where we bump into two other variance conditions, which is setback to the neighboring property line. So instead of 10 feet, we've suggested 3 feet. That gives us a 70-foot setback and at least some separation to the neighboring properties. This absorption field will be at grade. It won't be a mounded, raised area, so it will be just the level lawn that exists now. So what else could we do to mitigate the deficiency in the setback to the well? We've proposed the use of an ETU, an enhanced treatment unit, which you've heard about. You've seen in other applications. In this case, a Claris Fusion 450, which is a treatment unit that goes beyond what a conventional septic tank does. It provides greater treatment, enhanced treatment, as the name characterizes. So that's something that's being added to help mitigate that distance. And now, is there anything else that could be done? Well, yes. As that effluent goes from the Claris unit, more highly treated, it goes into a pump tank, but along the way, we can put it through a UV light, which provides disinfection of that. So it's an additional level of treatment. So both of these enhanced treatment techniques, I think, are good measures to mitigate the fact that we aren't that standard 100 feet away, but we'll be at 70 feet. So that's what we're proposing. It results in the 3 variances as described. We have had conversations. I know the owners, Aaron and Frank, have had conversations with the affected neighbors, most particularly the neighbors to the north, the Cart family. And I think we've tried to share whatever information we can with them, and hopefully that it's something that meets their approval and the board's.
Questions for Mr. McElroy?
No, Catherine and I went up and did a site visit. I don't think there's more we could say besides what's been said. They're trying to put this system in an area of the property to give the greatest distance from the well, which I think is the primary concern. And again, when you talk 10 feet to 3 feet, I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of space between the property lines and where the seepage septic field has to go. So we were somewhat positive on the plan.
We are, and it's a vast improvement as to what's there right now.
Right.
I mean, I think you said that it was like 1973 or something.
The existing system, as the records that we have from 1972, in that system, that absorption field, a conventional trench system absorption field, probably is in the range of about 35 feet from the well as it exists. So I'm not sure which came first, that field in 72 or the well, but they're both there now. So.
And so I'm sorry. So we're installing a Fusion 450, state of the art, pre-treatment, and then it's going to be influenced, for lack of a better word, by the Southport 3G. And now the Southport 3G has that UV lamp, a quartz tube with Teflon coating. How do we know if that failed?
Well, that question came up with discussions with the neighbor as well, was what could be done, and it can be wired to an alarm condition, so that if that UV light, which isn't in the basement of the house, like many times UV lights are used for water supply disinfection.
Right.
This is out in the pump tank, but there would be a mechanism to wire it to a control panel in the house that would then give an alarm light type situation, so that you could be aware of that, that it's functioning properly.
Good. And you'd be all right if we condition this that
Yes.
that Southport 3G would be wired to a 3G would be wired to a control panel to notify the owner of failure of the UV lamp?
Correct.
Okay. So, and so the waste that's going to the field has been pre-treated and disinfected, and they probably say it's drinkable, and I'm not going to try it out. And then it goes to a traditional absorption field.
Correct. Yes, stone bed distributed
Yeah.
through lateral pipes within that bed.
Okay. I'm going to open this to the public, so the public can speak to this this application for variances. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this application, which is Frank and Aaron Steinbeck, 211 Assembly Point Road? Yes, sir. Dennis, I may ask you to come back. We can't answer this person's questions.
My name is Chris Cart, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, Irma Cart, who lives at 213 Assembly Point Road, the property next door with the well. And I'm not here to speak in opposition to the plan. I think it looks like it's probably the best solution, considering all the circumstances and the size of the piece of property. John, I'm glad that you asked that question about the UV light, because that was one of my questions. And if we could, make that part of the stipulation, I think that would be good. An audible warning would be better than a visual, in my opinion, but I guess either one would be okay.
All right, well, it may be even both. I'll ask.
Yeah. And I don't really know, because I'm not an expert in this at all, if 70 feet from a well versus 100 feet from a well is like a typical scenario that has been, variances have been granted for that in the past. I don't know if,
Well, we have granted variances from that in the past. If the applicant is putting in an advanced system like what's being proposed tonight.
gotcha, yeah.
If it was a traditional system, we would probably be reluctant to join a consideration of that.
Yeah, I understand. And it does look like a good system. It's, Dennis and I have been emailing back and forth, and I've asked him a number of questions, and the new technology looks great on paper, and I understand that there are some of these systems in use, but, they're not particularly time tested. They seem to me to have a lot of moving parts, and things go wrong over time. But, if we can, I'm not gonna, the Steinbecks seemed like nice people, and Dennis has answered all my questions. And I'm gonna just hope for the best. But if we can be sure that UV light stays lit all the time, because bulbs do burn out, that would satisfy us.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Are you on Shore Colony?
What's that?
Are you on Shore Colony?
The waters? Oh, no, not part of Shore Colony,
You're
no.
not part of Shore Colony?
No.
Why not?
It's just the way the properties, the way the lots are laid out, it's never been part of Shore Colony.
Really?
Yeah. I think it ends at my mother's property.
Huh.
Yep.
And is your mom there year round?
It looks, what's that?
Is your mom there year round?
She is.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonder why you wouldn't be on Shore Colony. That makes no sense.
Right next door.
Maybe Dennis knows. All right, I'll drop it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak to this application for a sewage disposal variance?
Yeah, hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Rinaldi. I live right to the south of their house. And my concern was I presently don't have a well on my property, but at some time we might want to put one. And we measured it out, and the closest or farthest away we could get from that line would be 80 feet. And I'm just concerned about me being able, I know I don't need a variance to put a well in, but I don't want to be in line with it or that close to it.
Well, I can allay some of your concerns by saying that this Fusion 450 with the built-in UV system is, I think you can feel pretty satisfied. It's about the best going. And if this was going in next to mine and my well was 80 feet away, given the terrain and the environment that you're talking about, I would feel okay.
Okay, I just wanted to state that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
I understand your concern.
yeah. I mean, if we ever sell the property and somebody wants to build a house and want the well, and I don't want it to stop anything.
Keep in mind that 100 foot is for the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the terrain, the soil types, the type of system you're talking about, whether your well is encased and all your new wells, your well would be encased, all would go into, factor into, you know, us as the Board of Health looking into protecting your health.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak to this application? I see none. Dennis, would you come back, please? So Mr. Cart had two things. One is, can the notification for the UV lamp failure be audible and visual, or what is it usually?
It can be, certainly, yeah. You know, it'd be mounted at a control panel in the basement area in the mechanical space in the house, similar to the pump station will have a similar.
An audible aspect to it.
Yes, I mean, it's going to be in the house. It's something that's easily visible, but if an audible alarm will ease the minds of those, that's fine.
And the other concern Mr. Cart had was the dependability on the Fusion 450, and how has it been time tested and so forth.
Yeah, I think that we had the conversations or communications that Chris mentioned, and we've included Eric Murdoch, who, John, you're familiar with at least, and I think he's been before the board, who is the representative of the Fusion unit in this territory. Tried to answer some of those questions, and we've provided the owner's manual on that for review. But the longevity, it's a technology that my understanding came from Japan. It's been used for decades. In the United States, not as long, certainly. Eric referenced 15 years that he's been involved with these units, being familiar with them. So in Lake George, time tested, maybe the first one was in Lake George and Diamond Point. That's probably been only 5 years or so that's been in place on a year-round house. Others that we've put in here in Queensbury, 2 to 3 years. The Dunham's Bay ones are the prime example of where they've been used. So no, there hasn't been a long local time test, but they company-wide or technology-wise, it's been tested. There is a standard 4-year maintenance agreement that comes with the unit upon the sale of that unit. So the Steinbecks will have 4 years of maintenance built into that system, and then they will continue that in the future with annual renewals, that type of thing. So it's as much as I can assure you that it will be looked at, that's how it will take place.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, just to allay some of the fears that folks have about the wells, there's another thing you spoke to us about that day that stuck in my mind about the depth of the wells in these areas go down hundreds and hundreds of feet.
Correct, yeah.
And chances of...
Right, every well is different. In Assembly Point, it's typical that wells are very deep and not great yield, and sometimes not great quality. They might be sulfur wells. That's just a local issue. That's a local thing. As I said, it's so strange to see that beautiful lake out there, but when you drill a well, you stick a straw down into the geologic formation, it takes great depth to be able to get that water supply. So I'm not sure. I tried to research the Cart's well, but not all that information is publicly available from whenever that original well was. But I suspect that it's hundreds of feet deep, yes. But 100 feet has been the horizontal standard. And again, as I mentioned to you that day, you'd be hard pressed to find an engineer who could tell you exactly why that's 100 feet is that magic separation distance.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know why they're not on?
Yes, it's not in the district. The line just, and if it makes sense because the main, one of the mains in that system just is on Sunset Lane. It doesn't go on Assembly Point Road.
Yeah, with the assumption they're going to drop from the lake more often than not.
Probably it was that original Shore Colony subdivision too. I'm not sure whether those lots as it went further were part of that, because that's what the system served. The street, the houses, the lots that were not necessarily shorefront lots, but those interior lots that didn't have access to the lake.
John, I wonder if we should have a discussion with Chris to, before we repave that road, to see if we should extend that district. It just makes no sense because the pump is 100 feet from their house.
Yeah, if it could be done, I don't see it.
Yeah, I could get into a long conversation about your biggest problem is that it's a seasonal system.
Yeah, I know.
And that
I know.
that, that horse is out of the barn.
And I think the other crazy fact is the fact that we have all this oversight and septics and where houses go, and yet wells can go anywhere that Rosick ends up putting them. I mean, they showed up in our development and they put a well for our neighbor on the other neighbor's lawn. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So we go through all these processes, and yet, you know, they can show up tomorrow and drill a well through their leach field.
Or at least right next to it, yeah.
It's insane. I don't get it.
Yeah, and to answer another question that Chris had, this wasn't a separation distance to a neighboring well. It was to the applicant's own well. But in years past, and this goes back 15 years probably, I was involved with a variance request for the owner's replacement of their wastewater system, but it was 31 feet from their own well, because the well driller came in and drilled that well right in the center of the lot, the easiest spot where they could get access. And now, years later, the owner needs to replace the wastewater system. The only location was 31 feet from that, but that was approved based on the fact that the well would be disinfected with UV light, and it was the owner's own water supply. So,
Okay. Any other questions? All right, how about a resolution to approve? I'll close the public hearing. Thank you. Resolution approving Frank and Aaron Steinbach's application for sanitary sewage disposal variances.
We have to make some changes to that resolution.
Well,
Yes, with one condition that that the UV light will be wired to a control panel and have an audible and visual notification of the failure of the UV lamp, or something like that.
That's fine.
Okay?
You put that after or before resolve that the town board authorizes and directs, after be it further, on page 2 at the bottom.
Okay. You okay with, you got that, Rose? Got my numbers?
Okay.
Okay,
I would move that.
all right. Conditioned approval, moved by Councilperson Ferone, seconded by Councilwoman Atherton. A roll call vote on this, please, Rose?
Councilperson Atherton.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
Switzer.
Yes.
Stroud.
Yeah.
And Medevere.
Resolution passes.
thank you very much.
Good luck. All right, next.
It's a resolution setting a public hearing on sewage disposal variance application of Adam Leonardo.
All right, Adam Leonardo of 12 Hall Road Extension is seeking to put in a new system and requires 2 variances. One variance, 5 foot from the property line in lieu of the required 10-foot setback. And the second variance, 87 foot from the well in lieu of the required 100-foot setback. And this is setting a public hearing on this matter for November 4th. So is there a motion to approve the resolution setting this public hearing?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilperson Medevere,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilperson Ferone. Roll call vote on this, please, Rose?
Barone.
Yes.
Switzer. Yes. Stroud.
Yeah.
Medevere.
Yes.
And Atherton.
Yes.
All right, so the public hearing on the Adam Leonardo disposal variance application will be on November 4th. Third and last item for the Board of Health.
Resolution granting Don Bernard of 20 Brayton LLC an extension of time for septic system replacement at 20 Brayton Road and reinstating escrow deposit.
All right, they put a $2,000 deposit. They have gone beyond their time period. They're asking for an extension to April 1st. And are you
I am Don Bernard.
Bernard?
Yes.
Okay, Don. Would you like to speak to this?
Just need some more time. It takes 6 months is just can't get it done in 6 months.
Okay,
Working on housing plan for a new home there. Should hopefully be before you in December. Just don't want to tear anything down until I have everything checked off and approved.
okay. But you think you'll have this in by April 1st of 2020?
I hope so, yes.
Yeah.
That is, yes.
Any questions for Mr. Bernard? No questions. All right, a motion to grant Don Bernard of 20 Brayton LLC an extension of time. Moved by Councilperson Medevere, seconded by Councilperson Atherton. Roll call vote on this, please. Rose?
Councilperson Switzer.
Yes.
Stroud.
Yes.
Medevere.
Yep.
Atherton.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for the Board of Health. How about a motion to move out of the Board of Health?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Brown, seconded by Councilperson Medevere. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we're now out of the Queensbury Board of Health. Our next is we have 9 resolutions before us. I say 9. Those of you with agendas are looking at 10. We're pulling 3.6 for now. We'll have it at the next meeting. So I will review the 9 resolutions and then give the public an opportunity to speak to the resolutions. Okay? And if there is a topic that's town related and you wish to speak to this town board and it's not directly related to the resolutions, I'll give you an opportunity to speak to that at the end of the meeting, where you have another privilege of the floor. Okay? This one pertains to only the resolutions before us tonight. So resolution 3.1.
It's a resolution setting a public hearing on Town of Queensbury 2020 preliminary budget.
All right, this resolution is to set a public hearing. And I ask you to please abide by what this resolution is seeking. Only to set a public hearing. I know some of you may want to speak to this matter, and you can at the end of the meeting, but not at the time of the resolutions, unless you want to speak to the date we're proposing to set, which is November 4th. Public hearing on our 2020 preliminary budget. 3.2, Rose?
Resolution authorizing Adirondack Runners 4-mile reindeer run and junior reindeer run.
All right, well, this is being sponsored by the Adirondack Runners. It's a 4-mile reindeer run and junior reindeer run. It'll be held Sunday, December 1st, 2019, 8:15 a.m. and 9:35 a.m. It will start and end at SUNY Adirondack on 640 Bay Road. And it will benefit Cindy's Camp, Comfort, and the Adirondack Runners Scholarship. And those of you that are not familiar with Cindy's Camp, Comfort, or Cindy's Comfort Camp, that is a program of the AA and the Cancer Center at Glens Falls Hospital. And this program serves children that have had a parent or loved one deal with a life-threatening or chronic illness. And this program provides guided sessions that allow the children to talk about their situations and learn about coping mechanisms. So children are paired up with volunteers provided by Camp Comfort. So that's one of the fine things that the AH and the Cancer Center at the Glens Falls Hospital do for us. And the Adirondack Runners. They're the ones that are putting this together. So this needs to be approved by the highway superintendent, and it was. They need to show that they have the proper assurance, and they do. 3.3.
Resolution authorizing acceptance of grant funds, provision of matching grant funds, and memorandum of agreement relating to comprehensive watershed management plan for Lake George, number C1000678.
All right, Chris Belden, Warren County, is trying to administer and revive this this grant, this Department of State grant, to develop a comprehensive watershed management plan, or action plan, as they're calling it, for Lake George. And it's a 50-50 grant. So Chris has arranged 8 entities to come up with matching amounts of money so we can proceed with this. And Queensbury is asking to commit to $4,500 at this time for this budget. And the budget changes and they're asking us for more, they'll come in and have to ask us down board for that. But right now, and the budget is attached and what we're proposing for this. So this is a memorandum of agreement that's saying we, Queensbury, will commit to a share of the required match for the C1000678 grant, which is a grant related to the development of a watershed management plan for Lake Jewel. 3.4.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Edward and Thomas O'Connor, Inc. to repair shutoff valve to Aldi's Market on Quaker Road.
Okay, there's a valve in front of the Aldi's Market. Should I call it the old Aldi's? Because the new one's about to open, I believe, on the 24th. And this is in front of the old Aldi's. And it's a situation that is quite challenging. So the water department would like to hire somebody to work with us to be able to do this. And O'Connor's, among others, he got prices from, but O'Connor's was the best price of $10,640 to go down and replace that shutoff valve and whatever else might get disturbed as part of that. 3.5.
Resolution and final order approving Queensbury Technical Park Sewer District Extension number 7.
All right. This is the one we've talked about before, and we've already adopted a negative seeker declaration. And this is to get a sewer district extension to permanently serve a new development of Luzerne Road duplexes to be constructed by Hayes and Hayes on one parcel bearing tax map identification number 309.10-1-97 located on Luzerne Road, and more specifically set forth and described in the map planner report prepared for this. And the town planning board has approved this. And so the applicant proposes to demolish existing buildings and construct 13 new duplex apartments totaling 15,483 square feet, along with associated site work on a 3.47 acre property. Apartment houses and an office zone require planning board review and approval. And a public hearing was held and on 1/22, January 22nd, 2013. And one of the reasons why it took so long to get here is we did studies of that to make sure that we had the capacity, and then we wanted to see some of the flows and have a little history there. And so Chris Harrington, the superintendent of water and wastewater, feels assured that we have the capacity to service this district extension. Okay, 3.6 was pulled. 3.7.
Resolution authorizing award of bid for purchase of 3 plug-in hybrid all-wheel sport utility vehicles for Building and Codes Department.
All right, so North Country Imports is the bidder, and it's $35,188 for each vehicle for a total amount not to exceed $105,564. And I know that 2 of 3 are replacing vehicles, and I talked to Dave Patton, and one of the vehicles he'd like to save, and I reminded him that for every vehicle we replace, we also get a $2,500 grant for going in this direction and purchasing a more efficient vehicle in terms of our carbon footprint. And in terms of cost, because there's practically no maintenance on these electric vehicles. They don't require much in the way of gas. They are a hybrid, they're a plug-in hybrid, and they are a Subaru Crosstrek. We have one already, and they love it. So it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, and the one that we have they really love, and they were very glad to hear that North Country Imports came in for a good price on 3 vehicles totaling $105,564. Of course, we'll get some grant from that as well. 3.8.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Pinnacle Human Resources LLC for provision of compensation analysis services and live and web-based sexual and other forms of harassment training services.
All right, we've had several department managers ask us to make salary adjustments, either for themselves or people in their departments. We would like a guide. Okay, so this is a resolution to hire Pinnacle for an amount, it depends. They're going to charge $150 an hour up to $6,000 to try and give us an assessment of our salaries and wages here at the town and how do they compare to other towns of equivalent nature. And the other service that we need now, because the October 9th clock is ticking, is to do a sexual harassment prevention training for all our employees. And so this is $2,000 to ensure that service gets done for all of our employees. Hopefully we will get both of these in November. And that's when we need them, because we want this to be in place before the end of the year. It doesn't give us much time. All right, 3.9.
Resolution approving an audit of bills warrants of October 8th and October 22nd, 2019.
All right, these are warrants with a run day of October 8th and 17th and payment dates of October 8th and 22nd, totaling $3,830.10 and $620,995.68 respectively. And 3.10.
Resolution authorizing Town of Queensbury to join Warren County as plaintiff in Warren County Supreme Court civil litigation against David J. Decker.
Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to join the county in litigation against David Decker over the $50,000. Okay, so those are the 9 resolutions before the town board tonight. Any member of the public wish to speak to any of those 9 resolutions? Yes, sir.
Travis Whitehead. There's several I'd like to talk about tonight, but I'll just reserve it till 3.7, the SUVs. And I did a little cost-benefit analysis here. I had heard earlier in some discussions that you were going to do a cost-benefit analysis, and I don't know if you have. I certainly haven't seen it. I'd like to see it if you have. But this is very similar to one I gave you a year ago, and I'll just go through it. The annual mileage of the car that you bought, the first car you bought, was about 5,500 miles based on the vehicle that was replaced. Your new car has an annual gas mileage of 27 miles per gallon, but the hybrid version has a 90 mile per gallon equivalent. But since you're only driving at 5,500 miles, you're only going to save about 143 gallons a year, which is not a whole lot. $2.50 a gallon, $2.80 a gallon. You certainly aren't going to come up with the $10,000 roughly difference between a similarly equipped gas-only model. If you did save $2.60, that would be $372 a year. That's also assuming that electricity is free, which it is not. So you'll never pay for the premium in savings. And the hybrid has the same engine, the same tires, the same exhaust. In short, the same maintenance costs as the gas version, which is something that your supervisor told you was not the case. But if you look at it it has the identical engine in there, a 2-liter Subaru Boxer engine, 4-cylinder, that the car would have if it's not hybrid. It just has additional hybrid components as well. So your maintenance costs are not going to be any lower at all. Many of us are interested in greenhouse gas emissions. You will save some there, but you've got to realize that the electricity that you're charging it with is coming off of the grid. And in New York State, only 28% of that is green. So when you're filling that up with electricity, you're filling it up 72% with fossil fuel. So it's not nearly the savings that you might think you're getting. 2 years ago, we upgraded lighting in this room, also in the town hall. It cost us a total of $14,100, and we are saving 39,000 kilowatt hours per year.
Okay, can you finish up, please?
I will. This reduced our annual electric bills by over $4,300 a year and will pay for itself in about another year and a half. We'll continue to save $4,300 a year, and all the while reducing carbon dioxide emissions.
Okay, thank you very much.
To the extent that what we would save
Mr. Whitehead,
would be
the limit for everybody. You're not an exception. It's 3 minutes. I appreciate your input, and thank you very much. Please return to your seat.
Well, I did hear that you were going to do an analysis, and I certainly didn't see an analysis. And I thought you might appreciate, a few minutes of analysis, but evidently you don't.
Well, you can email anything to us at any time you want,
You don't even find out about this till Friday afternoon.
All right, well, thank you. All right, the state is promoting and encouraging us, municipalities, to purchase EVs, to reduce environmental damage, to reduce carbon footprint, and every bit that we can do will help. And yes, it is a hybrid, which means that the electric aspects of the car are going to be running at some length of time, meaning a reduction in the use of the combustible component, meaning a savings in maintenance. All right, just to make things clear. Anybody else like to speak to any of the 9 resolutions before this town board tonight? Seeing none. Any of the resolutions you would like to speak to or have a roll call vote for?
3.8. As regards to services at Pinnacle, Human Resources, I would like to have that pulled until further information is available for the process. I did send a list of questions out on Thursday, and there has not been any response. And I would like to have a response to those questions and to understand. It's not that I disagree with, obviously it's very important that we have this analysis done for compensation, and it's nothing against Pinnacle. It's just that it was a surprise on Tuesday to find that all of a sudden we're being asked to agree to have them come in and do that analysis where we hadn't even talked about that before. When Pinnacle came in for the workshop, it was just a informational thing about Pinnacle. It wasn't for a particular, it was about outsourcing HR. It wasn't about doing an analysis for compensation. So I'd like to hear from other companies, number one, and I would like the answer to my questions.
I did email you.
When was that?
This afternoon.
When was that? Because I
This afternoon.
yeah, but I was pretty on top of my email.
And
John.
we were going to act on this perhaps sooner. Jennifer asked us if we'd wait till you got back, which we
No,
did.
not on this. That wasn't on this. That was on just getting a full-time HR person versus
it was about
consultancy.
Pinnacle as well.
No, this was new,
Well, you
John.
were gone for a month. All right. You would like it roll call, and we will do that. And if
I would
you-
actually like it pulled.
We need to have this done by November.
I understand
Is there a will on behalf of this board to pull?
Can we possibly, John, abbreviate the resolution so we can get the sexual harassment training done? Is that possible?
We need the other one done too, because we have to have that information to us in November. It's gonna take a while to do that. Do you know of anybody better than Pinnacle to do that right now?
I mean,
So
have we
I
ever-
say we need to go ahead.
Have we ever used Pinnacle before? How do we know what Pinnacle is?
We've never used that.
Yeah, but we haven't even asked anyone else. No, not regarding this. We had two people come in, two companies come in as regards outsourcing HR.
And I put an email saying, are there any other companies you'd like to interview? And I didn't hear anything back.
But I don't know that, you know, I'm not, it's not my project, John.
Okay, fine.
I thought we came out of that meeting feeling pretty solid about that individual and what he presented in terms of the breadth and depth of the people they had working for them. They had generalists, they had professionals, they had the back office support to get things like this done and done quickly and efficiently. And I think that's what personally I'm looking for to get done here, is to have information before I go ahead and make decisions on any requests for salary adjustments.
I absolutely want the salary assessment done. We tried last year and it
Yeah.
didn't work out too well, right?
Yeah, well,
In-house.
that's-
I guess that's it. It's a shame on us that it took, that we're at the 11th hour again. And so we don't want to make decisions about salaries without having good data. So we're faced to, I think we're faced with this snap decision again. And I think that's part of it as well, is that here we are again. And I don't think we did enough homework to get to this point. I agree that Pinnacle may have the resources that we need. I think it was just wait a minute. I think they may be okay, but.
You know, when Pinnacle came in, it was just like an informational thing. Because we were talking about, do we
Well, because
outsource
they
or do
came-
we
They came
employ
very highly
some?
recommended.
You know, I would just,
Yeah, I understand, I respect your
I
feelings,
mean,
but I think we're gonna.
I
leave
have
it as
little
a
to no
roll call.
information about what was done last year. Yes, we did get that report, but there was no background as to who and the what or the where, whereas here, at least this group came in, they spoke to us, they presented what they could do.
but they didn't present on this. They didn't present on this assessment action. They presented generally of what they could do for HR
We did bring that up
outsourcing.
that night, though, they said they could do that.
Yeah, we did, and they have 30 people working in their firm, and their expertise is this exact thing.
I just feel uncomfortable with it.
Well, we've come to the end of time, we've been throwing this around for a year, over a year. And we've come to a time where we gotta make decisions, and I think they can do the job, and I think they can do it well.
I'd still like to hear from others.
All right.
One more, two more,
You can express your vote.
okay. Yeah.
Any others, resolutions we'd like to have a roll call vote? Okay. Then, let's do the roll call vote first. 3.8, please, Rose.
Introduction.
I'll introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Medavere, seconded by Councilperson Pearl. Roll call vote on 3.8, please.
Councilperson Medavere.
In the essence of time, yes.
Atherton.
No.
Barone.
Yes.
Switzer.
No.
And Stroud.
Yes. Resolution passes. Okay, on the other resolutions, and those being 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.7, 3.9, and 3.10. Anybody want to move those forward for approval? Moved by Councilperson Perone, seconded by Councilperson Medavere. Roll call vote on the remaining resolutions, please.
Councilperson Atherton.
Yes.
Barone.
Yes.
Switzer.
Yes.
Stroud.
Yes.
And Medavere.
Yes.
Passed unanimously. All right. Any correspondence, Rose?
Yes. A copy of the 2020 preliminary budget has been presented to the town board members, and a copy will be on file in the town clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity to speak to the town board about any town topic that you wish. Anybody interested in that? Yes, sir.
So you did not permit me to finish what I had to say before the vote, but I don't really think it would have made much difference anyhow, so I'll continue it now. The projects that we did in this building and the adjoining building save us the equivalent of over 3,100 gallons of gasoline every year, in addition to paying for themselves. Contrast that to the hybrid vehicle, which saves about 143 gallons of gas, but also requires electricity that is only 28% green. The savings are minimal for the electric vehicles, the hybrid vehicles, as compared to other projects like this. You will be having other projects like this come before you, and they'll probably be good projects. I mean, you are looking at the street lighting. It's been forever, but eventually you'll get to probably purchase the street lighting from National Grid. It's going to probably require a good amount of capital to go ahead and do that. I haven't run the numbers, but I'm expecting that they'll look pretty good as far as the payback, but it's going to be a lot of money that will need to be returned over many years. But I also think that the impact on the environment will be very positive. And I would hope that we would save money for things like that rather than things that do not do very much good for the environment and do seem to cost a good bit of money. And that's what I was trying to get across to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board about any town topic? All right, seeing none, town board discussions. Let's start with Jennifer.
Sure, I just have a quick kudos out to the Power of Pink, which took place over the last 2 weekends at Queensbury High School. Specifically the volleyball teams that participated in that and the teams that are participating throughout the month in those efforts. Again, I think a lot of times we don't think that they are as involved, as aware, and spend too much time and not spending enough time concerned about what's going on around them and in their communities. And this is obviously something that they partake in at a very high percentage and makes an impact specifically locally here. So kudos to all of those Queensbury High School students.
And the Queensbury campus was alive.
Yes.
And I thought we had lots of parking. Yeah, but that was great. The inside of the building,
yes,
and everyone for
yeah,
that effort.
Yeah.
It was really impressive.
And I think that open house is coming in the middle of November, so.
Okay. Anything else, John?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. George?
One thing I wanted to mention, we always have the pleasure of the co-star here reporting on our meetings. And we had a workshop where we reviewed our budget. And there was an article that said that, intimated we didn't do a lot in that budget meeting. And it was short. It was about 15, 20 minutes of discussion on the budget. But I just want to make the statement that, I think the reason for that is that there's a lot of background work that goes into that. I know I spent a lot of hours emailing our budget manager, yourself. I think that our board works very diligently on what they do and take all this very seriously. And I know there was more than just one question asked per each council person. So,
my yellow sticky notes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that I think we do a good job. A lot of it goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of folks don't see that, but it does happen.
Thank you for bringing it up. I think it needed to be brought up. Anything else, George?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
I have one thing, which is on the 28th, which is Monday, right? We have an environmental activist and author is going to be speaking at SUNY Adirondack and the Crandall Public Library. Her name is Sandra Steenberger, and she is an author of Living Downstream, an ecologist's personal investigation of cancer and the environment. And she's going to be speaking about the mission-driven action and the loss of the commons, what it means for the environment. So there's a lecture and a question and answer session at SUNY at 12:30 on Monday in the Northwest Bay Conference Center in Adirondack Hall on the Queensbury campus. There's a reception and a resource cafe organized by North Country Climate Reality, which will follow the presentation. There's also in the McDonald Room at 6:30, there's an introduction to the film Fractured at 6:30 p.m. So very important set. The Tri-County New York Transition initiated this through Lisa Adamson and the library, and SUNY ran with it. So they organized Sandra Steenberger coming in and doing this work, and it should be great. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you. Tony?
Nope, good tonight.
Okay. I have just a few things. One is a letter to our town clerk's office. Ladies, I just wanted to drop a note and say thank you. You're all on the front lines up here. I am sure that your counters are the first stop for many of Queensbury's citizens. And being school tax time, I also am sure that day in and day out, it's you, underline, that has to hear all the grumbling of us homeowners as we write those checks out. As a homeowner for the last 20 years, never underlined, on any occasion while I have needed to visit your location for whatever reason, have you all been anything but kind, pleasant, and helpful? In this day and age, that's a beautiful thing. You're all doing a great job. I am selling my home and moving to the city of Glens Falls.
Definitely not because of you.
I sure hope our city hall employees are like yours. Best regards, Christy Meyerberg. Thank you, Christy. And it is nice hearing from the public, and we do all the time. We hear from the public what a great job we're doing. I hear all the time what a great job the highway department's doing. I hear all the time what a great job our park and rec department's doing. I hear all the time about what a great job this town board is doing running this town. They feel that this town is being run very well. And so I have to give credit to our department managers. Our cemeteries are run fine. Our tax assessor's office is one of the finest in New York State. We're very lucky to have such good people working for the town and making this town a great place to live. And again, this town board works hard, and they deserve credit for helping bringing us where the public would like us to see us being. Okay. Talking about highway. Our residential annual fall leaf bag pickup. Again, bag your leaves, grass clippings, don't put rocks, stones, just leaves, okay, grass clippings, and put them next on the roadside on your lawn, but not in the street. All right, pick up do place the materials at roadside on the weekend before the scheduled pickup. And do contact the highway department at 761-8211 between 7 and 3 if you have any questions. Ward 3, bags must be out by November 3rd. That's easy to remember, right? Ward 3, November 3rd. While I'm thinking of it, somebody asked me, they said, could the Post Star run another map of the wards? Well, you know, since they've changed, people, you can go right online to Property Locator on the town's website and it will tell you what ward your property's in. Okay? So, Ward 4, November 17th. Wards 1 and 2 will be November 24th. You'll be getting ready to eat turkey, huh? Okay. So, that's your roadside pickup. And last item for me is my report to community and board. It was kind of light.
Kind of.
Well, we did the usual site visits for drainage issues. I mean, that's coming up. We're all over the map and all over town with the drainage issues. And Dave Dool and Mark, his deputy, Mark Benware, is helping. We're doing what we can. We had an AGFTC policy meeting. I chaired that meeting. It was very good about what's going on in the metropolitan area that they're responsible for, which is Washington, Warren County, and Northern Saratoga County. I attended the SUNY Adirondack Annual Investors Summit. I met with Susan Sheehan. We're working on what do you want, what we want, CSEA contract, which comes to term at the end of this year. I went to the Queensbury Senior Citizens Carnival right here. It was a fundraiser for them, and it was very successful. And then I went from here to the Wood Theater fundraiser. And then I've been meeting with George Hilton to work out the Halfway Brook Trail, which is, we're very close to finalizing all the agreements on that. And he was working on designing of the parking areas. And then I had a Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board. And then we had a town board workshop. This is all one day, where we discussed the tentative to preliminary budget. And we had to go in executive session to discuss personnel issues. And then on Saturday, I did the cerebral palsy Prospect School run, which was a cerebral palsy awareness and a fundraiser race out of the Elks Club. And then I had a bunch of meetings with a bunch of department managers today on various things, and we're at the town board meeting. I told you it'd be short. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Then I would like to thank Joe Barlow, our TV cameraman at Look TV. I'd like to thank all the people attending tonight. And I would like to thank Rose and Mark for attending at the town board, but especially all the meeting attendees. Thank you for attending tonight, and drive safely on your return, please. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion to adjourn by Councilperson Switzer, seconded by Councilperson Atherton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It was unanimous. For now, adjourn.
The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis & Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis & Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian-American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.